What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Sports with Jake. Hope we're all doing well. So, to start out, TNT has matched Amazon's offer for the NBA. Obviously, the whole thing is if TNT loses the NBA, we'll lose it inside the NBA show. Obviously, one of the greatest sports shows of all time with Chuck, Kenny, Ernie, and Shaq. But they have decided to match Amazon's $1.8 billion offer for the NBA. So now the NBA has to choose between which one they would like, which deal they want to sign. So, very interesting, to say the least. So, you'll see what the NBA decide, but a bit of a bombshell report yesterday that came out. TNT has matched Amazon's offer for the NBA. With that said, talking a lot of football today. We're continuing my NFL offseason series. Almost done with that. And then I'm actually going to reveal my top 32 NFL quarterbacks for this season. But first things first, let's do my NFL offseason series. Alright, let's start with the Las Vegas Raiders. So Raiders, obviously they decided to make Antonio Pierce a full-time head coach. I think it was the right move, whether or not he fails or succeeds. He deserves a shot to prove that he's a head coach in this league. All the players love him. Also, if they moved on from him, they would have had to, basically completely rebuild. Max Crosby would have asked for a trade. Devontae Adams would have asked for a trade. It would not have been good. So, they did what they had to do, obviously. In the draft, you take Brock Bowers, a stud tight end in the first round. If you're taking Michael Mayer last year and then taking Bowers this year, does it make a lot of sense? Maybe not, but Bowers was already a top 5 player in this class. You get him at the 13th pick. That's incredible value. You have some nice weapons. Even with losing Josh Jacobs, I think Samir White could be a very good back. And you bring Christian Wilkins on the other side of the ball. 4 years, $110 million. It's a huge contract. He's one of the best defensive tackles in the league. Had a great year last year. Miami's developed into one of the better defensive linemen in all football. He's a really good player. That's a nice add for the Raiders. You put him next to Max Crosby. That's a dangerous duo on my defensive line. You have Tyree Wilson, who you drafted last year, who didn't do a whole lot as a rookie, but obviously still really young. Hopefully with Antonio Pierce, that'll help get the most out of him. But look, they have overall a solid roster. The quarterback is obviously the problem. Aiden O'Connell, a four-fighter last year out of Purdue. He played a bunch last year, in place of a just very bad Jimmy Garoppolo. And was okay. At first, he wasn't very good. And I thought Sam was starting to play a little bit better, but didn't show a whole lot. Obviously, you bring in Gardner Minshew on a 2-year deal to compete for the job. It's kind of hard to say who's ahead. If I had to guess, Minshew will be the starter. He's been around for a while. He ended up being the starter last year in Indianapolis after Richardson goes down. So, he's not a starting quarterback. He's a very good backup, but not really a starter. He's a fine, fill-in guy. But, so to me, they're still a quarterback away. But overall, they have solid offseason, You draft you arguably a generation tight end in Brock Bowers. You add Christian Wilkins in the middle of your defense. You add Gardner Minshew to the quarterback room. Overall, you had a good offseason. You promote Antonio Pierce the head coach, which is obviously the right move. So I like what they did. And we'll see what happens. Obviously, they're not going to be able to chase the Chiefs, but there's a good chance they'll definitely be better than Denver, and they could easily be better than the Chargers, who obviously have a great quarterback and now have a head coach in Jim Harbaugh. But I don't know if the roster is a little bit raw. But up next is the Pittsburgh Steelers. So overall, they did improve their quarterback room. You send Kenny Pickett to the Philadelphia Eagles. You let Mitch Trubisky walk, as well as Mason Rudolph. You bring in Russell Wilson on a 1-year deal, making just over $1 million, and you trade for Justin Fields, make him with the Bears. A 2025-6 that becomes a 4th if Fields plays enough games. Russell Wilson is expected to start. Look, I don't think Russ has all that much left. His arm is gone. He can't move around the same way he once did, but he's still an accurate quarterback. He's not the worst decision maker in the world. He's still an okay decision maker. He's got a better squad than he had in Denver. He's got a better coach. He's got a better run game. He's probably got better weapons and a better defense. Overall better team. and honestly probably a better organization. You know, Fields, look, through 3 years, obviously struggled with the Bears being a pretty high first round pick. He also you know, they didn't have a very good offensive line. The play calling was a little skeptical. So then he goes to Pittsburgh again. He's got a much better a little better at least offensive line. You know, better weapons. Run game is probably about even. The York Bears was a little better, at least when they were healthy. And he's got a better defense, definitely a better coach, and better play calling. But yeah, obviously, the big thing, I think an underrated piece of their offseason was bringing Arthur Smith as offensive corner. That's to be a big storyline. I don't think he did not work as a head coach in Atlanta, but he was a good offensive corner before that in Tennessee. He kept the defensive corners guessing quite often. When Ryan Tannehill had him, he looked like a star. As soon as he left, the guy went back to being, actually as mediocre as it gets in this league. Yeah, obviously, he did a lot of good things with the Titans on, but now he's in Pittsburgh. I don't hate the fit. You have a guy in the G. Harris, who I don't think is a great back. I think he's a decent back. He has had 1,000 yards 3 years in a row. Gino Lawrence is a pretty good back as well. You're often have to line him in the first round, which hopefully will help. Now you're trying to rebuild the offense like kind of piece by piece. Now you got a really good defense. Look, to me, they're still mediocre, which they've been for a long time now. And I don't think the quarterback room is great, but it got better. And you're paying Russell Wilson nothing. Denver's paying him God knows how much money to play for another team. You're paying him $1.3 million. Justin Fields is on a rookie contract. He's not making much. He's gonna be both guys are free at the end of the year. He gave up a 6th round pick next year. At worst, if Fields plays more than expected, he'll come a 4th round next year. Not a big deal at all. And so, overall, the quarterback room did get better. Though still always a lot to be desired. Now, you did trade Jonathan Johnson to Carolina. Don't really get much back for him. He's a pretty decent receiver, but he was a guy I think was causing some problems in the locker room. So you do get him out of there. You had a piece on the offensive line. And look, again, I think they have a pretty solid roster, but they're a quarterback away. Again, so we'll see what happens with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. And the last team I'm going to cover today is the Carolina Panthers. They actually did have a good offseason. You improve the offensive line. You bring in a couple of very good guards with a Robert Hunt. And then you brought in another solid guard as well. I can't remember who else they brought in. So they bring in 2 solid guards. Probably overpaid a little bit for them, but you got to protect a young quarterback in Bryce Young, especially a guy who's very, very small. And a guy who's makes a lot of plays with his athleticism and his legs. Like I said, you make the move to trade for Deontay Johnson. You're going to be able to get at the end of the first round. You have Jonathan Brooks with the rounds coming off a major knee injury. But does have potential to be a very good back in this league. So overall, they added some pieces for Bryce Young. I like that Dave Canal was hired. They were going to have access to the top of the line guys. Jim Harbaugh and Ben Johnson, guys like that. Because those are such a horrible job. But he's worked with a lot of young quarterbacks. He's made a lot of them better. You saw what he did with Baker Mayfield last year. Guy who looked like a major bust. Like his 4th team in 5 or 6 years. And he made him look like one better quarterbacks in the league last year. I think he's a really good young offensive mind. Obviously your main priority is Bryce Young. You give up everything. You give up Bryce Young and you give up DJ Moore and a bunch of firsts to trade up to get him. Take him over CJ Stroud, which to this point has been an absolute disaster. Obviously, a new regime there with Dave Canales and new GM Dan Morgan, who got the promotion after he let go of Scott Fitterer. So look, and you do with Brian Burns. So that's a big loss on your defensive line. But you only get a couple of draft picks for him. Probably should have got a little bit more. You let go of a couple pieces on defense, but look. You put yourself in this position. You gave up half the world for Bryce Young. It's a tough spot. Overall, I thought I did a pretty good job. Will they be good this year? No, I don't. Look, I'm not high on Bryce Young, but can't write him off yet. He had terrible off the line. He had, you changed his play caller every month, it seemed like last year. The weapons were terrible. Not much of a run game. The defense didn't really start playing well until the back half of the year when they were already out of the race. You got owners. The owners freaking throwing drinks at fans. I don't know what's going on. So, you got to give them a shot. And, look, they should be better. They should have a better run game. The weapons are better. The offensive line should be better. Defense, I don't think is great. They were a pretty solid unit down the stretch, but for a lot of the year, they weren't great. And now you lose your best player on that side of the ball, and Brian Burns, for 2 draft picks. And that was in the first round. So I don't know how that's going to work out. They're still not a great team. They're probably the worst team in the worst division in the league. They're not better than Atlanta, who we all knew was a quarterback away from being a good team at least. And they got Tampa. They're basically the same team they went 9-8 last year. Yeah, they're a year older and now more expensive, but they shouldn't be that much worse. Can't really get that much worse. Just a little bit older now, and then New Orleans is not very good, but they're probably better than Carolina. I mean honestly, if you told me the Saints were gonna finish in last place over Carolina, I'd be like, you know what? Not my prediction, but I could see it happening. That team is very bad. You have an aging quarterback who you're just kind of stuck with. Alvin Kamara, another guy, was really good. Now he's kind of aging out. It's a really old team. It's been in cap hell for 15 years. As mediocre as it gets. Put you this way, the Saints' ceiling is probably about 8-9. If they were in any other division, their ceiling would be at maybe 5-12. Yeah, that division's very bad, but overall, they're trending in the right direction-ish. I mean, if Bryce proves to be a flop, it's going to send them back 5 years anyway, at least. That's what happens when you miss on the quarterback that high, but I think Dan Moore got to get the GM did the best he could. Alright, so let's go over my top 32 NFL quarterbacks for his upcoming season. At 32, I have Bo Nix from the Denver Broncos. Look, obviously, he might not even be the starter. We don't know if it's going to be him or if it's Jarrett Stidham. Zach Wilson's there. It's all out competition. I think Bo Nix might be the best guy on his roster. I'm a little higher on him than most. I think he could be a solid quarterback in this league. But he's being set up to fail, to be honest. He doesn't have a lot to work with. Courtland Sutton's really their only weapon. Javonte Williams, I could see him being a little bit better. A lot of times the second year removed from torn ACL is when guys really come back to form. But from hearing, I think I heard Jaleel McLaughlin has looked like the best back in OTAs and minicamp. So it's not a good sign at all for Javonte Williams. So look, of the rookies, he's probably in the worst position. But I don't think I'm not sure. By the end of the year, I don't think he'll be. I don't think with the talent on him is the guy who would be the worst quarterback in the league, but he might end up being because he's a rookie in a really bad situation. Also, I wouldn't mind if he sat. He's played a lot of college football. He's already 25 years old. So he's played a lot of college ball, so I guess by that measure, he's ready to go, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. At 31, I have Jaden Daniels. Obviously, you got to have the rookies at the bottom. I like the talent on the kid, but, I don't trust Washington by any means. He's got some nice weapons there. You have a solid back in Brian Robinson. You have some nice receivers in Terry McLaurin, who I think is very good. Dotson's a good young player. Then off the line, it's a little better than last year. I like you bringing Tyler Byott, who's a good center. Samuel Cosme, he's pretty good. Other than that line still looks pretty ugly. I don't think Dan Quinn's a good head coach. That's not the guy I would have brought in. Cliff Kingsbury, I don't think his system works in the NFL, to be honest. The air raid offense. I'm afraid the whole problem last year with Sam Howell is they just abandoned the run game, and they might be doing it again because now they have an offense that literally is called air raid. It's called air raid. You're probably going to throw the ball a lot more than you're going to run. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me, so. He's 31. At 30, I have Drake May. I know from what I'm hearing, Brissett might start. I know pitchers probably come out and said he's a starter. To me, he's the most NFL-ready quarterback in this class. So if he's ready week 1, I don't know why you wouldn't start. You wouldn't start him. But I do think he'll start over Brissett week 1. For whatever reason, he'll by at least I would say week 6. I would think he's got to be the starter. I don't think the Brissett starting with him will last very long. You know, you look at what he's got to work with. The line could be better, but it's not horrible. They should have a good run game with Ramondre Stevenson. Stephen Core, I mean, you draft a couple of guys who are pretty good in Jaden Polk and Javon Baker. Bourne coming back, he's pretty good. Hunter Henry's a decent tight end, but they don't have a proven number 1 wideout. Being said, you got a defensive-minded head coach. You got an opposite corner, Alex Van Pelt, who came from Cleveland. Cleveland, the team that loves to run the ball. You got a rookie quarterback. Inexperienced receiving core. You got a good backer under Stevenson. This screams they're going to be a run-first team. We'll see what happens. But I got Drake May at 30. I like the talent on the Caleb. We'll see what happens. At 29, I have Caleb Williams. Look, I be very clear. I think Caleb Williams is going to be a flop and a gigantic bust. But look, he's been set up as well as you could say about a rookie quarterback you possibly could. He's got, a very good back at DeAndre Swift, who had over 1,000 yards last year. Looking at his receiving core, you have Keenan Allen, who when healthy, still a great receiver. You draft Roman Dunze, who has got a chance to be a stud. DJ Moore is an all-pro. Cole Kmet's a really good tight end. He's got everything he needs to be very good. I don't hate Shea Waldron as the offensive coordinator there. I think Bears being overhyped a little bit. I have concerns on the defensive side on the offensive line. Obviously, Caleb's a big question. I don't think Matt Eberflus is a good head coach. But of all the rookies, he has by far the best weapons available. So that's why I have him the highest out of all, even though I have probably the least hope that he'll live up to his hype of all of them. At 28, going with Bryce Young. Look, he was very bad last year as a rookie. He was not good at all. He completed just 58% of his passes for 2,800 yards, 11 touchdowns against 10 or something. So he was not good. But he had. I just went over the Panthers from my offseason series that he didn't have a lot to work with. If Brooks is healthy, you should have a better run game. Line should be better. You should have some better weapons. You got Deontay Johnson. You got Xavier Legette. So, should be better. Play calling should be a little more consistent with Dave Canales as their head coach now. So hopefully their play calling is a little more consistent. So look, he should be a little better. But to me, he has to show something. Look, he's the first pick in the draft. You really got to give him 3 years, at least. But if he does that again, what he did last year, at that point, it's all right, maybe he just isn't an NFL quarterback, or at least not a starter at this level. Maybe look, this is how I look at it. You missed on the pick, to an extent. You took the wrong guy. You should have taken Stroud. I don't see a world where Bryce Young becomes CJ Stroud. I don't think that planet exists in the solar system. I gotta be honest. Is it possible he still becomes a good quarterback? Yes, it is. If I was a betting man, I would not bet for that. I'm not very high on him. I never was that high on him, to be honest. But it could happen if they surround him with the right pieces. But, so now all of a sudden, all right, you don't have a true one, at least we don't think. You don't know what Xavier Legette is, I guess. But you have, a better receiving courts, an NFL caliber receiving court at least. You have a young back in Brooks who, you put him with Chuba Hubbard, who was a pretty productive last year. Miles Sanders, who's, I think he fits. They overpaid him. They out of his world. I think in a committee, he's a pretty solid piece. It's like the lead back. That's not the role he's meant for. With a little more protection. No. He should be a little bit better. He should be. We'll see what happens. At 27, I'm going with Sam Darnold, who it appears is going to start for the Minnesota Vikings. Look, I watched him play for 3 years from the Jets. They kind of ruined him. Also, he went to Carolina. Due to Christian McCaffrey, he had DJ Moore, and he was at best a serviceable fill-in. Obviously, he was suddenly used as a backup in San Francisco last year. He filled in for Brock Purdy in that one game against the Ravens. And then, he started the last game of the year where it didn't matter. So they could rest Brock Purdy for the playoffs. Look, he's not a starting quarterback in this league. He's a fine-ish backup, but he's not a starting quarterback in this league. I don't know what to expect. That being said, he also has the best receiver in the league. Justin Jefferson, along with others. He's had, by far, the best weapons he's ever had. This is the best offense he's ever been. It's not even remotely close. Well, I shouldn't say obviously what he had in San Francisco obviously was better than what he had. Minnesota 49ers offense is incredibly talented. He played like 2 games. This is the best offense he's had. He's been a starter on. Let me clarify there. So maybe he can be serviceable and hold on the fort, but that's as far as I think he's going to go. At 26, I have Anthony Richardson. Georgia, you can put him a little bit lower. He only played 4 games as a rookie, but I liked him coming out. He's coming out a little look. I think he's either going to be a stud or an absolute flop. No in between. He only completed 59% of his passes, just 577 yards. He had 3 touchdowns and a pick, but did have 136 rush yards and 4 scores in 4 games. Look, he was as raw as a top 5 quarterback I've seen in a long time coming out, and he only played 4 games. So he's still obviously really raw. But he's a guy who has an absolute cannon. He's incredible athlete, especially for a guy his size. He weighs 255 as a quarterback. That's crazy. But is extremely inaccurate and really raw. So, no trouble about boats for the Colts' success this year, but I think the guy's got a lot of talent. Especially if Jonathan Taylor is healthy. He's got a couple of nice pieces on offense. Good off the line. I like Shane Steichen. I think he's in a good situation. I'm going to trust him in talent. At 25, I have Daniel Jones. I honestly, originally was doing this, I had him a little bit lower. But I was like, I can't put a guy who, he's been a starter for 5 years in the league. Not a good one, but below a guy in Richardson who's got 4 career starts and hasn't completed 60% of his passes in over those starts. Sam Darnold, who shouldn't be a starter in this league. Bryce Young, who was the worst quarterback in the NFL as a rookie and in the rookies. So I had to put him here at 25. But he's not good by any means. I know he's never had an offensive line, but look, I know the offensive line was historically bad last year, but in the 6 games he played, he did complete 67% of his passes. He had 909 yards, 2 touchdowns against 6 interceptions. Tyrod Taylor, a career backup, and Tommy DeVito, and a rookie undrafted guy who lives like down the street. He can walk to the stadium. His mom still makes his bed. Both looked better behind that same historically bad offensive line and that horrendous offense than Daniel Jones. They both look better than Daniel Jones. Look, you missed on the pick. Not shown. He didn't draft, and it was that was a Galaxy Gettleman pick. But you missed on the pick. And look, he's only on the team because of his contract. He will not be on the football team next year unless he completely breaks out. Daniel Jones might be under the most pressure under any quarterback in the league. If you have an optimal line that still leaves a lot to be desired, he's got a running game is a little skeptical. Outside of league neighbors, who I think is a stud. One, he's only a rookie. And 2, the rest of the receiving core is pitifully bad. If he doesn't have an absolute complete breakout year, it's going to be hard for him to find a job next year. Maybe he'll get one as a backup somewhere, but he will not be a starting quarterback if he does this again. Like, if Daniel Jones is healthy and Drew Lock sees the field, unless it's like a meaningless Week 18 game, which, I mean, I don't think that'll happen because the Giants are not going to be in contention by then. Their team is very bad. There's zero chance he's a starter anywhere in the NFL next year. But I didn't like him coming out. I've never, liked anything I saw from him. He flashed a little bit as a rookie. Yes, he threw for 35 yards and 20 touchdowns despite battling injuries and being behind a really bad offensive line. He also had 23 turnovers, and he had 2 horrendous years. Had an okay year 2 years ago. All right, he got a little better with the turnovers. But also, the guy barely cracked 3,000 yards and 15 touchdowns. Yes, the receiving core was depleted by injury, but still. 3,000 yards and 15 touchdowns, which is arguably the best year of his career. Not arguably, it was the best year of his career. And then obviously gets the playoff lane against that fraudulent Vikings team. And he gets $160 million. And now last year goes out, has two tutties and 6 picks in 6 games, and then blows out his knee. The guy isn't that good. At 24, I have Will Levis. You can argue maybe I have him a little lower. Look, I'm not that confident with Will Levis. In 9 starts last year, he completed 50% of his passes for 1,800 yards, 8 touchdowns, 4 picks. Nothing to fall over, but he also had really bad offensive line and a really bad receiving core. Now he's got a new offensive line head coach where I like him, Brian Callahan. Line should be better. You draft Latham, Skronson under your end of his belt. Bill Callahan's a great offensive line coach. Bill Callahan, that's obviously Brian Callahan's dad, who he brings in. Obviously, Derrick Henry's gone, but you also bring in Tony Pollard, who's a decent back. Tyler Spears flashed last year. You had Calvin Ridley. You had Tyler Boyd. The receiving core. Well, he's under a decent amount of pressure because, look, he's a second-round pick. He's not going to have as long as leashes as a first-rounder is. But he's got to show improvement. Look, I was not high on him at all. I was very low on Will Levis coming out of Kentucky. But concerning the circumstances, he actually looked decent, I thought, last year. He's a guy, if you take a step forward, also, you might have something. So, you shall see what happens. But I have him at 24 going into the season. At 23, I have Deshaun Watson. Look, the only reason the guys that are below him are, Will Levis, who's unproven, Daniel Jones, who's proven that he's bad, a bunch of rookies, and then Sam Darnold, who obviously is always starting because he is a rookie, because the only other option is a rookie who's not ready yet. He's been terrible. The guy has just been brutal. Destroying the Browns. Last year in 6 games, completed 61% of his passes for over 1,100 yards, 7 touchdowns against 4 interceptions. Look, he's still only going to be 28 years old. But since I think he started 17 games with the Browns. I think it's 12 actually. He's got 12 or 13 starts as a Brown. In that time, he's completed 58 or 59% of his passes. He's got maybe 2,300 yards. I'm not sure if he has 50. I don't think he has 15 touchdowns, probably 7 or 8 picks. The guy's been brutal. He's played almost a full season, of games. The guy's been brutal. Yes, it's not like the guy's washed. He's 36 years old. The guy's still 28, but, and it's been 4 years since the guy's been a good quarterback. Since his last year he played in Houston. It's hard to see me seeing him being any good this year. So, look, the quarterback play in the NFL is really bad right now. So a guy, Deshaun Watson, who I think is just brutal. Somehow he's washed at 28. Is only the 10th worst quarterback in the league, in my opinion. At 22, I have Gardner Minshew. This shows you how little I think of Deshaun Watson. The Gardner Minshew, who probably shouldn't be a starter, is head of him. I think he'll be out kind for the job. Look, he does not have a very good arm. He's an okay athlete, but he's not super accurate, but he's very careful with the ball. He's a good fill-in, good backup, not a starter, but he's going to start right now for the Raiders. Again, He's only the 11th worst quarterback in the league because of how bad the quarterback play is. I have him at 22. You know, I mean, last year I thought he was serviceable last year for the Colts. Completed 62% of his passes for 3,300 yards, 15 touchdowns against 9 interceptions. You know, he started 13 or 14 games. He played, I think, in every one of them because Anthony Russell kept getting hurt in pretty much every game. He had the concussions, and he ended up getting shut down with the shoulder surgery. But he'll probably start for the Raiders. He's very careful with the ball, if nothing else. At 21, I have Russell Wilson. I don't know how much this guy has left. Last year, he, in 15 starts, completed 66% of his passes for just over 3,000 yards, 22 touchdowns against 8 picks. So he was a little bit with the turnovers last year. He was a little higher rated than his first year in Denver. He was a little more accurate with the ball, but his arm is gone. I talked about this right when I went out with the Broncos offseason review. I think I did that yesterday. His arm is gone. What made Russ he can't do anymore. He used to have this amazing deep ball. That's gone. His arm is depleted. He has no arm left. His athleticism isn't really there anymore. Don't know how much he has left, but I have him at 21. At 20, I have Derek Carr. On paper, his numbers look pretty solid. Completed 68% of his passes, a little bit for 3,100 yards, 25 touchdowns against 8 picks. There were a lot of games where he was not very good, and then in garbage time, he was down 20 in the final minutes. He was stat pad. The guy doesn't have that much left. He was not very good last year. He's always been a mediocre quarterback. He's not that good. You know, he's only on my team. He's making almost $34 million a year. He's not the guy. Not that good. He's pretty much washed at this point. I'm at 20. And at 19, I have Geno Smith. 2 years ago, I had a really good year. I had over 4,200 yards and over 30 touchdowns. Was a Pro Bowler. He regressed last year, but wasn't horrible. Last year, completed 64% of his passes for over 3,600 yards, 20 touchdowns against 9 interceptions. Look, Sam Howell's waiting in the wings. I thought showed a little bit of problems last year. I think Howell will start before the end of the year for sure. No, but Geno for now is a serviceable star. He's got some nice weapons. He's better than the way you did with the Jets, obviously. So I have him at 19. At number 18, I have Kyler Murray. I'm not a fan of Kyler. Didn't hate him coming out, but I thought he's always been overrated since he's been in the league. Only scored 8 games last year after coming up with a torn ACL. Completed 65% of his passes, just about 1,800 yards, 10 touchdowns against 5 picks. Well, that team was very bad last year. That's the best that he could do. I think he has a chance to be a decent quarterback. I don't think he'll ever be elite. But I have him at 18. But I'm sure having Marvin Harrison will definitely help. At 17, I have Tua. This might seem really low for him. I don't get the Tua excitement. He's a fine quarterback. With weapons around him, he's a decent starter. But he is not elite by any means. Whenever he's had to uplift his team, he has not been able to do so. He's last year completed 69% of his passes for over 4,600 yards, which did lead the league. 29 touchdowns against 14 interceptions. The fact that the guy in the offense threw for 14 interceptions is kind of scary. It's 4 off the guy. Josh had a level league in pick last year of 18. He had 4 less than Allen. And look at the weapons that Tua had. I mean, come on. He's a fine quarterback, but not really by any means. Not when going to a Super Bowl. At 16, I have Aaron Rodgers. I thought this was fair. Look, he played 1 series last year, then he tore his Achilles. Last time we saw him 2 years ago, his last year in Green Bay, he completed 64% of his passes for over 3,600 yards, 26 touchdowns against 12 interceptions. The Jets have probably on paper a little bit off the line. They got a better, overall they have a better run game, and they have better weapons. The defense will get some more stops for him as well. Look, now he's 40 going on 41, coming off a torn Achilles. It's not ideal at all, but I think I see him. He's still a decent quarterback, so I have him right spot down in the middle of the road. At 15, I have Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield came out of nowhere last year and had a career year. A former first pick who's been up and down throughout his career, considered a major bust. Last year completed 64% of his passes for just over 4,000 yards, 28 touchdowns against 10 interceptions. Can he do it again? I'm a little more skeptical than most. Yes, they basically put the same team. Rashad White, Mike Evans, Chris Gallo, they're also there. But remember, Dave Canales, the offensive coordinator, is no longer there. It's now Liam Cohen. They brought him from the University of Kentucky. I'm not sure how much I like that hire, so I'm not sure if he'll be able to do it again. He's done it before where he's gone out there and played some really good football, and we thought, oh, here he is, and then he flatlined the year after. But for now, he had a good year last year, and I have him at 15. At 14, I have Kirk Cousins. Cousins obviously only played 8 games last year because of the torn Achilles, but he completed 69% of his passes for just over 2,300 yards, 18 touchdowns against 5 interceptions. Look, I know he's 36 for torn Achilles, but the guy was an Iron Man practically before that. I think he'll be healthy this year. You know, he's got some nice weapons. Bijan's a game-changing back. Rick Long and Kyle Pitts. Generally, as a 2 or 3, I think is solid. Kirk's not going to win the Super Bowl, but he's a decent quarterback. He's a solid starter. And then at 13, I have Trevor Lawrence. Obviously, he's got a big $275 million deal. Look, he has not been the generous touchdown we thought, but last year completed 65% of his passes for just over 4,000 yards, 21 touchdowns against 14 interceptions. Slight step back, we posted a big step forward. What we thought going into his start, we thought he'd break out. Didn't quite happen. But obviously now, it's time for him to take a jump. We'll see if he does that, but if nothing, he's a decent quarterback. He was playing through injuries a lot last year. If he's healthy this year, I think he could be a lot better. At 12, I have Jordan Love. Look, he's been a lot better than I thought. I was very skeptical of him. I didn't like the pick when they turned up to get him. You know, obviously he got to a really bad start last year. I was pounding the table. Not the guy. But then he proved me wrong in the back half of the year. Played phenomenal football. Balled out in the wild card round. Kudos to him. Ended up completing 64% of his passes for over 4,100 yards, 32 touchdowns against 11 interceptions. Looks like he's about to get a long-term contract extension with his free agency right around the corner. So, but overall, I think he's a good quarterback. Can he be a great quarterback? That remains to be seen. But he's at least a good quarterback in this league, I'd say. Number 11, I'm going to go with Justin Herbert. If you're going off pure talent, Herbert might be in the top 5. But didn't have his best year. You know, injuries limited him to 13 games last year. Completed 65% of his passes for just over 3,100 yards, 20 touchdowns against 7 interceptions. Look, I expect it to be a lot higher going into when I do this again next year. But you know, he also has not been very clutch so far in his career. But obviously, his receiving core got a lot worse. You cut Mike Williams and then you trade Keenan Allen to the Bears for a 4th-round pick. But you draft Lab McConkey. You signed Dobbins because that was at back. Obviously, Jim Harbaugh is a great coach. And the Chargers, they have all the pieces, you know, in place, at least when it comes to starting rebound. You have the head coach and the quarterback. Usually when you start a rebound, you have either one or the other or none. They have both. But right now, I think I'm putting him at 11. My top 10. Number 10, I'm going with Dak Prescott. Look. If you've watched the show for more than 5 minutes during football season, you know I am not a Dak Prescott fan. I think he's incredibly overrated. But the quarterback play is not that good, so Dak's the 10th best quarterback in the league. Last year, completed 69% of his passes for 4,500 yards, 36 touchdowns against 9 interceptions, and then, like he always does, crap about in the playoffs. Look, Dak's a fine quarterback. He's a decent starter. He'll get you to the playoffs. You are not going to win a Super Bowl with Dak Prescott. I will never rank him above the 10th best quarterback in the league, most likely, if I had to guess. But, you know, he's got CeeDee Lamb's got some pieces there, so he's a 10 right now. Number 9 is Jared Goff. Goff, he's really turned his career around in Detroit after a couple of rough years in L.A. Goff completed 67% of his passes for 4,500 yards, 30 touchdowns against 12 interceptions. Was inches away from the Super Bowl. Just got a big $200 million extension. A little bit much for him, but he's turned into a very good quarterback. He's a perfect fit in Ben Johnson's system over there in Detroit, and he's done a very good job there. Number 8 is Matthew Stafford. I still think he's a top 10 quarterback in this league. Remember, 2 years ago, he had a great year, won the Super Bowl. Then, battling a bunch of injuries, he regressed. But last year, I thought was a lot better. Completed 62% of his passes for over 3,100 yards, 20 more touchdowns, 11 interceptions. He's not quite the same. He's, 37, 38 years old. And, he's not as accurate as he once was, and I don't think his arm has definitely regressed a little bit. He's had a lot of shoulder and elbow problems, but I think he's still a decent quarterback. In this league, the Rams offense is loaded. He's still top 10 guy in this league. I have him at 8. And then with 7, I have Jalen Hurts. Look, he did regress a little bit from the year before, but still, the guy still completed 65% of his passes for over 3,100 yards with 23 touchdowns against 15 interceptions, and he also ran for 600 more with 15 rushing touchdowns, which is an NFL record. I mean, the guy did have 4,500 yards almost total and 38 total touchdowns. If he can limit his turnovers, he's one of the league's best quarterbacks. Again, the quarterback play is not very good, so, he's right now the 7th best quarterback in the league, in my opinion. I think he's a very good quarterback. I'm not sure if he's great. They're paying him to be great, which is the problem, but obviously adding Saquon Barkley should help, though losing Jason Kelce is not going to help. I'm not sure if that'll limit the tush push at all. We'll see what happens, but Hurts comes in at 7. At 6, I have Brock Purdy. Look, Purdy he's a great story, being the last pick in the draft. He's not elite by any means. He's a solid starter with pieces around him. He's obviously got as good as a setup over there in San Francisco as a quarterback can get. But the guy completed 69% of his passes for over 4,200 yards and 31 touchdowns against 11 interceptions in his first full year as a starter. He's a good quarterback. Not great, but he's a very good quarterback. Top 5. Number 5, I have C.J. Stroud. I have Stroud in the top 5. The guy was absolutely amazing as a rookie. Completed 63% of his passes for 4,100 yards, 23 touchdowns against just 5 interceptions. That's as a rookie. And now you have Stephon Diggs and Joe Mixon, and you have Tank Dell healthy. Offensive line got better. Stroud's going to be a stud. He will be an amazing quarterback for a very long time. At 4, I have Lamar Jackson. The guy won his second MVP last year. Obviously, I have not been able to get done the playoffs. But last year, completed 67% of his passes for over 3,600 yards, 24 touchdowns against 7 interceptions. And he ran for 821 yards and 5 touchdowns. So in total, over 4,400 yards, 29 touchdowns against 7 picks. Remember, his stud tight end Mark Andrews was hurt for the second half of the year last year. His running back room was depleted. Outside of Zay Flowers, didn't have a ton of other great receivers. Won the second MVP in his first 5 years from the league. Also hasn't been able to get done in the playoffs, but he's a very good quarterback for sure. At 3, I have Josh Allen. Look, we don't know what to deal with Josh Allen. Turnovers. He completed 66% of his passes for 4,300 yards, 29 touchdowns. Then he had 14 picks. Wow. Oh, I guess he had 14 and not 18. They get 18 picks. I think my main mistake on my docket here. Then also had 524 rushers and 15 touchdowns. But the guy had 4,100 yards and 44 touchdowns. Obviously, he also had 18 interceptions, which led the league. Allen's either the best quarterback in the league, arguably, or, the guy who shouldn't be in the league. It's no in between. If he can limit his turnovers, he will be an absolute superstar. But because the quarterback play is so poor, again, he's the 3rd best in the league, but look, he's really good. He's got to watch his turnovers. At 2, I have Joe Burrow, and a lot of people might disagree with me. I know Burrow's had trouble staying on the field, but I just think he's a better quarterback than Josh Allen. Last year, only started 10 games, completed 66% of his passes for over 2,300 yards, 15 touchdowns against 6 interceptions. But, he was playing hurt to start the year, then he finally got healthy, then he got hurt, then he gets hurt again. So kind of got call a tough break there. The guy's a stud. In big games, besides Mahomes, that's the guy I want. He's a stud. And number 1 is Patrick Mahomes. I already think he's top 5, not top 3 all time. He's only 28. Last year completed 67% of his passes for 4,100 yards, 27 touchdowns against 14 interceptions, and now it's the worst year of his career. The guy is absolutely amazing, one of the all-time greats. We need to appreciate his greatness as often as we can. Alright, that's all I got for you guys today. Till next time, so long. Have a great day.